So I definitely recommend, highly recommend for more people to get into the trades. Not even only heavy equipment. You might not be into heavy equipment. I recommend CDLA, CDLB, drywall, welding. You can start off at entry level with welding and then work your way up and be an underground water welder where you making that's one of the highest paying jobs in the world. At Detroit Training Center, we try to make our students priority. They number one. That's what we do it for. And that's the thing about it is we got a big heart over there. We don't never forget what the whole sole purpose is, and that's to continue to help students, help the community, to better the community so that we can all gradually grow.
Oh my God, he's such a loser.
What's up, losers, and welcome back to another episode of the Popular Loser Podcast, where it's okay not to fit in. I'm your host, KD, and today I got a new guest. I'm gonna let him introduce himself and say what his job is.
How y'all doing today? My name is Bernardo Reeves. I am currently the youngest black heavy equipment instructor in the United States of America, teaching heavy equipment to a multitude of students for Detroit Training Center, which is a wonderful place.
And that was quite the flex. Can you say that flex again for me?
Currently the youngest black heavy equipment instructor in the United States of America.
And how many people would you even say is maybe like in that group of, because I'm assuming if you say you're the youngest, it's probably not a lot. I'm assuming already.
It's not a lot. Right now, from my counting, it's about several. Yeah.
So not even, we talking about not even like 50?
No.
They tell you a lot.
Yeah.
They tell you a lot. So heavy equipment instructor. Let's go into what heavy equipment is.
So heavy equipment is a multitude of different equipment. People tend to see them on freeways, doing demolition jobs, tearing down homes, doing reconstruction on buildings. Just a few to give you: excavator, mini excavator, bulldozers, front end loaders, backhoes, bobcat skid steers, aerial lifts, forklifts, whether it's the large size forklift or the small standard size forklift, usually tend to be around 6,000 pounds, able to lift up to about 3,000 pounds.
That was the fact that you just knew the back end numbers is so hard. So with that, why did you choose that trade? Because I know that it is within a very large pool of trades. Why did you pick heavy equipment specifically?
So I picked heavy equipment because I worked for a storage facility. I was a property manager there for about 2 years, and we had a forklift and a multitude of different other pieces of heavy equipment, and I could never get to operate them, and I always seen them. And I was more so like a little kid, you know how you was a kid and you see heavy equipment riding down the block or coming to tear down the home to do some type of reconstruction in the neighborhood. As a kid, and I see those pieces of equipment, and I just always thought they wasn't for me. I would never be able to operate them. So when I got into that job and I seen them on the job and I wasn't able to operate them, it kind of took me back to being a kid and me being an adult, knowing that I could get out here and do whatever I put my mind to. Really kind of enforced and instilled something in me to go out and seek some type of a training for a trade to be able to do heavy equipment.
So with trades, there's obviously so many in a big pool.
Large.
What obviously at Detroit Training. So how do y'all maybe the way I'm trying to ask this, do students come in knowing what they want to do, or do you show students maybe this is what you should approach? This is, et cetera, et cetera, if you get what I'm trying to ask.
Originally, no. Some students come in knowing what they want, and they actually change their mind when they see the multitude of different programs that we have to offer. And then they see it, they see the time frame, and then we figure out a way for them to learn how to make a scope to identify what it is exactly that they would take the time to actually invest into and what they would really want to do. And that's usually how it go. Again, some students may come in seeking welding, and then they see that we offer heavy equipment in our orientation, and then they say, oh, well, I want to do heavy equipment. or I want to do CDL. Yeah, and that's usually how that works.
What would you say is the trade that is like most typically? What do people typically most go after?
I usually see students more so come for heavy equipment or CDL A and B.
See, yeah, I definitely figure
Those are
CDL.
two popular trades.
I definitely see CDL in there for sure. With heavy equipment, are there a lot of jobs on the market for it?
Yeah, it's always a lot of jobs on the market for heavy equipment, especially here in Detroit at the moment because we're doing a lot of big development. We're getting a lot of money for development plans and a lot of reconstructing all around the city. So it's real big. And then with heavy equipment, you can either be an operator, you can be a laborer, or you can even do blight removal.
Say that last one again.
Blight removal.
What is that?
Blight removal is somewhat a mixture of basically, how can I say this? Containment removals like lead, asbestos. Usually that's what deals with blight. The tearing down or demolition of contaminated older buildings around the city, because a lot of the houses and a lot of the buildings in Detroit City are a lot older and they kind of historic. So a lot of those places that people are buying and tearing down, they need people that's certified in lead abatement, asbestos abatement, to be able to do those jobs.
Okay. So when going to school for your trade, talk about your experience, because I know you said you also went to the same school. Talk about your experience, number one, as a student, and then how did you transfer, and after being a student and then going into the work field, how did you transfer into going into wanting to be a teacher?
Okay, well, I'm gonna start off.
I know that's a loaded question. I
it's
apologize.
Not. You are right. I'm gonna give it to you exactly how you asked. All right. So starting off as a student, I went in actually not knowing what was to come. I know I had 6 weeks ahead of me to, steadfast on what I needed to get done, and staying determined, staying focused.
So just to have some clearance, just to have some clarification. Mm-hmm. So you're saying the program is only 6 weeks?
6-week program.
Okay, continue. I'm sorry.
So no problem. I went into the program knowing that I had 6 weeks to get it done, with an amazing instructor, first and foremost. His name is Cleveland Everhart. Definitely want to give him recognition for everything that he has done for me. Because if it wasn't
love to shout out,
then I wouldn't be in the position that I'm in now. But during that 6 weeks, I trained with a bunch of great people. That was like my classmates, my peers at the time. And we stayed focused, and we all told each other how important it was to get it done. We make sure we helped out as far as anything that we could, where we seen any one of us fall short. But the program overall, that 6 weeks was amazing. DTC as a whole treated everyone like family. All of us, they made sure we had everything that we needed. If we asked for it, then they made it urgent for us to get any necessities that we needed. They showed concern when we had any type of issues. The administration side of things was amazing. They treat you like family. They're always there to help. We have career coaches. We have counseling for students. We also help with bus tickets, all of these different types of things where we can help, even with vouchers for shoes, coats in the wintertime, like hand warmers, foot warmers. So they always staying active and staying involved and trying to, help out as much as they can.
To ask you a question, with getting those different things, I know a lot of times they're funded by the government and stuff like that. Is it ever hard to get some of that stuff? Because I understand anything that's funded by the government, sometimes there's going to be some type of trouble with it. So is it ever any troubles that you have with those processes?
Yes, it is. We actually having trouble now with the shutdown, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But no matter what, us as a team, we always come together. So, what we'll do as a team as administration and different instructors and different people there, we will tend to, even if we have to at some point come out of pocket, and then what we'll do is get different necessities people need. We do donation boxes where people, we ask people to donate, and then the people that need it, we also leave it there and say if needed to take. So a lot of times we'll just kind of like do that, and just to help out. So where there is boots, we have different people that also we also have different people to come out and like sponsor us. So like Goodwill comes out and sponsor us. Different construction companies comes to sponsor us as well.
That's dope that something in the field will come and sponsor you.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah.
So with Detroit Training Center, how I'm assuming that the classes are pretty small. Like smaller intimate classes, maybe like up to like 15 or 20.
Yeah, usually 15 to 20. At some point, I done had 36 students with 6 machines out in one large field. So, yeah.
Sheesh. And everybody has to get their turn because everybody has to learn how to drive.
Yeah, everyone has to get a turn. So usually how it works is the very first initial day of those classes where it's a week-long class, like excavator is a week-long class. So that very first initial day, we have a lecture in class where we go over all of the safety protocols, all the precautions that you need to take as far as like stand 10 feet away from power lines, knowing to place your dirt 2 feet away from your trench when you dig it, knowing that after 5 feet that your trench requires a trench box, knowing how to make an egress and a degress, which is an entranceway and an entryway and an outway of that trench so that people aren't climbing in and out. And if a ladder is required, then you know how to have a ladder. Certain machines may require fall protection, which is a body harness and a lanyard, and those, they can't be torn or under distress in any type of way. They do need to be inspected. The machines.
I mean, yeah, because you mess up somebody's life.
Yeah, and like a lot of the most important thing about it for us is safety. And that starts with knowing the equipment, knowing how to operate the equipment, knowing all of the safety precautions, like all of the different things that I just named. And a lot of those are OSHA standards. It is important to know and be qualified according to OSHA standards, because if not, then you're not certified or qualified. You just know how to operate.
And when OSHA comes around, they can't they like shut your business down?
Oh yeah, OSHA run the show. Yep, OSHA run the show. I got a lot of respect for OSHA. Let me say that. Yeah, I've got a lot of respect for OSHA.
And I know you're kind of telling me your titles that you have gotten. What did you say your titles were again?
So one of them is a lot of my students call me, and the heavy equipment instructor. I have some students that call me professor. Yeah. And it's more so about how I go into detail a lot of times, how I'm able to articulate certain things to be able to express to students how, for a better understanding, I should say. Yeah.
Being in the field, what would you say is, so with first, being in the field as a worker rather than as an employee rather than a teacher, like as an instructor. Mm-hmm. Being in the field, what would you say are the pros to being a heavy equipment, not instructor, operator?
The pros to being an operator is just learning more skill, right? Getting more familiar with different machines because they are not the same. Different brands, different styles. It's going to be different joysticks, different. Sometimes you got tracks, sometimes you got wheels. So just being able to learn different machinery, different equipment, different brands, and then actually learning how to do the jobs hands-on in the field. Like when it come to grading, knowing how to grade. When it come to digging, knowing how to dig. When it come to even adding on. When it come to landscaping, hardscaping, demolition, all of these different things. It's just a blessing to be able to know these different things and how to do them correctly, to be efficient and to be able to go out and say, okay, person asked me, because they know I'm an operator, if I could, do some land clearing or some earth moving, and they got 2 or 3 acres and they want to pay me for it. So like that is definitely a good benefit.
And what would you say are some of the cons in the field?
Some of the cons in the field, me first and foremost, I would say a lot of times is sometimes you'll have faulty equipment. When it comes to renting equipment, sometimes it's not exactly what you want. Sometimes customers ask you to, they expect more from you than what originally may have been the terms, right? Sometimes that's a con. And then I would say weather conditions. Weather conditions can be a con sometimes.
That is a very yes. I agree with that.
Yeah, I have those issues, and they tend to just like happen. So, and it's like if it, sometimes if it's raining, it's lightning, I got to put the equipment up. That ruins one day of work, whether it's in class or in the field, because now I got to make that day up. So then it kind of like prolongs the projected end date.
Being a person that has obviously been on different construction sites, people don't understand what construction really is, because I'm going to be honest, sometimes even me, I just think, y'all got all of these barrels on the road. What are y'all doing? Mm-hmm. Like, can we hurry this up? Yeah. So can you let me and the listeners know, like, what is it that takes so long about the processes being on a construction site?
Well, again, we go back to safety. Mm-hmm. Being safe first and foremost. You don't want to rush nothing. I like to tell my students, slow is fast. Because when you rushing, you tend to mess up things, or you tend to hurt people, right? So a lot of times when it comes to operators, we have to be slow and steady when it comes to operating the equipment. You want to be extremely smooth. You want to operate it smoothly. You want to start, turn, and brake smoothly, right? You don't want no sudden movements. And a lot of times it's just about perfecting the work. First, you perfect your craft as an operator, and that's the way you perfect your work. So it's extremely important that you take your time, because there's steps to it, right? So like, prime example, you don't want to, let's just say you want to place the stone. You want to place some stone, then you want to place something behind the stone, but you're moving fast. You didn't correctly lay the shielding down, like you didn't lay the correct film down that you wanted to lay to place the stone. You didn't lay the stone down properly to create a stream, right? So a lot of times that's what it be. A lot of times, it's just step-by-step processes, right? Like when it comes to construction, a lot of times you have to do reconstructing. You have to do demolition. Like you have to tear something out to place something there. You got to have that in mind. And then on top of that, you got to have approval from the city. That comes with inspectors.
That takes me into a great question. Dealing with the city has to be a whole nother type of headache.
Depending on how familiar you are with the city. You're a familiar company, popular brand, where, they tend to deal with you a lot. It all depends. Yeah. And it all depends on the job size, where it's going to be at, and how much it's going to affect the community, whether it's from traffic. Yeah.
With being in construction and I'm blanking on like how to ask the questions. I'm sorry. With being in construction and all of the different jobs, what would you say is like maybe some of the easier jobs to get maybe like fresh out of somewhere like a DTC?
A lot of the easier jobs, I would say, when it comes to construction is snow removal. A lot of times snow removal is one of the easier jobs. Or if you just like on one of those sites where you just loading up dump trucks for mulch, or you loading up dump trucks with different types of materials like some type of stone or dirt for people like that may purchase dirt. Like if somebody say, I want 12 yards of dirt, and then you got to use the loader to load it up, and you the person that's like the loader operator for that company. So a lot of times it's a lot easier to get loader jobs, or you can get into the city where you're doing like aerial lift jobs. So you can get into the city where you're doing aerial lift jobs, you're doing loader jobs, skid steer jobs, where it's, a lot of times typically it's just loading. Yeah.
What do you like most about being an instructor now? Because I know you said that's like the part you really, really enjoy.
Yeah, the biggest thing for me being an instructor is like like that 5 going into 6 weeks when my students get more and more familiar with the equipment, and then they actually going and doing their research about equipment and coming back and showing me like, hey, what you think about this, Reeves? What you think about that? And just seeing their face, just seeing them actually be able to grow within themselves, and like watching them at the beginning, and like them having like, because all of my students at the beginning of the program always kind of still had that look on their face like that, not knowing, oh, I'm about to be scared. And then, I give them like all of these safety factors that you have to weigh in. And then it's like, oh man, like you can get electrified, and, the machine can catch on fire and you got to jump out of it and shuffle your feet away from it. Like all of these different things. Like the machine can tip over and roll down the mountain, when I'm showing them serious videos of epic fails from people not following safety precautions. So like to see that and then actually get them in the machine and then show them, as long as they follow the safety precautions that I showed them, and always be aware and have safety awareness factors that you have to tie into and be aware of and know how to follow and pay attention to, they get comfortable, they get used to it, and I always tell them, don't get too comfortable, but get comfortable enough to where you have enough confidence to say, I know this. Go for what you know. Don't overthink it when you know what's right and what's wrong. So just to see them overcome that at that last 5 or 6 weeks, and they getting in it, and I can tell them to go and get in any piece of equipment, and they can get in there and they can follow directions exactly like how I say. That's what's big for me, because I know that they on their way to getting that dream job that they expected, or that high rated paying job that they've been expecting, to be able to go and gradually work towards a better career or success in their life.
Speaking of jobs, what is like the job placement after graduating from DTC?
So after graduation, even upon graduation, like ceremony day, we have contractors come out, and we have construction companies actually come out and scout for employees. So we do communicate a lot of times and have good relationship and partnership with different construction companies within the city and without the city, that actually come out for graduation, and they actually come and speak to us and want to know our input on specific students and what they are good at and what they know and what they can do. Mm-hmm. And then we also have career expos for our students, where we email all of our students from every last program that we have. Upon graduation, we'll always do a career expo event where students can come out, and then all different companies and like partnerships that we have tables. And at those tables, they have right then and there on the site interviews. Some of them have right on the site interviews where you can fill out the application and do an interview right on site. I've had a multitude of students get jobs from us. We have different companies that reach out to us, and they say, for example, hey, we need a skid steer loader operator, and then we need a excavator operator. Can you send us over some guys? And we always reach out to our students based on that and get them into those jobs. I got a student right now that's making about like $28 an hour. Has been doing a great job. He started a job that reached out to us for a recycling plant where they recycle tires for cars. And he's running like 4 or 5 different pieces of equipment over there because of the training that I gave him. So, that's always good. And just to be able to have people that can hold on to those jobs and hold on to those positions and go and operate at a sufficient level and know what they know, they always tend to come back to us when they need more employees.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's super dope that y'all have people there on graduation day. I mean, that's not very typical at all for people that's even going to college, big schools like Michigan, Michigan State, whatever the case may be. It's very few people that may get a job within the first year, and y'all got people there at graduation. That's a pretty dope standard.
At Detroit,
to get into the field.
At Detroit Training Center, we try to make our students priority. They number one. That's what we do it for. And that's the thing about it is we got a big heart over there. We don't never forget what the whole sole purpose is, and that's to continue to help students, help the community, to better the community, so that we can all gradually grow, and to kind of turn over that rate, that rate of like a lot of the youth that's getting in trouble. Right, so we always try to focus on that as well. So we love to bring younger people in, like even if you are in college, come and take a trade just in case you always have something extra in your belt.
Yes. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Yes, I can agree with that. Get a trade because a trade is going to pay you better than college. Oh, my God. Yes, I can agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Continue what you were saying. I'm sorry.
Yeah, in that way, they always have something to fall back on because sometimes people get into college, not to really get all the way into it, but some people tend to get into college and have an ideal on what they want to do, and then they start it and it's not what they expect. But then they have to restart, and it's kind of like, it's like once you restart, now you got to go and do this all over again, or you got to try to figure this out. So we try to get that done within that amount of time as well.
So that actually brings up a really interesting perspective. So with that, if a person wants to change in between, how would they do that there? Would it only be in 6 weeks? At least with college, it's supposed to be 4 years. Mm-hmm. There, being in only 6 weeks, how would you change? Like, say if you came in and you say, I want to be a heavy machine operator, and you'd be like, you know what? I want to be an electrician. Mm-hmm. Two total different ends of the spectrum. Yeah. So how would you go about that?
So what happened is like I've had students that switch from CDL to heavy equipment, and I've had students switch from heavy equipment to CDL. So what usually happens is you still get that credit. So that 3 weeks that you did will kind of like expire that 3 weeks that you did with heavy equipment, and then restart you with CDL, where you'll just kind of start as a fresh with a whole new 6 weeks with the next class.
So I mean, I guess it's similar to college then, to a sense.
It's similar to college, and we try to base
just
it off of that to keep
way less amount of time.
Yeah, way less amount of time. Yeah.
What would you say is the biggest challenge in general? Would you say in your field is
the biggest challenge for me in my field would be a lot of times is just helping some of my students kind of like see that end game. Sometimes that's a challenge for me. But one thing I learned about life is the greater the challenge, the greater the result or the reward. So a lot of times I take those challenges as a grain of salt. I don't let nothing make me over sweat, because at the end of the day, when I'm out there in the field, my students need to see me being the instructor that I am and continuously helping them. So those students that I do have challenges with at times, those be the students that make me who I am, because I fight even harder for them. I use that challenge as a build-up. And at times, it's rough out in the field. So even with my students, sometimes when I see them, make certain mistakes that I know that they shouldn't be making, I kind of tend to be stern about it, because out in that field,
you can't, serious.
When I tell my students, and this is something that I teach with every piece of machinery, at a minimum, we got a responsibility of 5. That minimum responsibilities are ourselves, the machine, the people we working around, the property that we working around, and then pedestrians.
Yeah, I was gonna say, the pedestrians is a big one for sure.
Yeah, and the pedestrians, and that's just a minimum. That's where it start at. Mm-hmm. Like that's where as soon as you pull into the parking lot, you pretty much know that you're responsible for at least those 5 things. And again, having operator awareness factors. Making sure you eat the right amount of food. Not being fatigued, because a lot of times hunger affects that. You got to worry about other people. You got to know how to assess the job site to make sure that the job site is safe. You got to worry about if it's going to be hot or cold, so that you could dress accordingly to those, right? And then you got to learn how to control your emotional level. Emotional level is a big thing when it comes to operators, because when you get in that machine and you upset and you moving like this, that's what the machine doing.
These are all really interesting perspectives. I agree.
So, yeah, I would say that back to what we was talking about, like as far as challenges, that right there will be one of my challenges. Other than that, man, it's pretty, for what I do and what I've learned and how much I've accomplished and grown since I've started. I don't really come across too many challenges besides my rental companies not sending my equipment on time. Yeah, but that's about it.
And last question. This is always the last question. Would you recommend being a heavy equipment operator / instructor?
Yes, I would recommend definitely being a heavy equipment operator, and also definitely recommend being a heavy equipment instructor because we need.
I was gonna
more
say, and why?
instructors.
Continue.
We need more instructors, right? The more instructors we have, the more equipment operators we have. The more equipment operators we have, the more reconstructing of different cities and development plans can be done. And then they can actually see themselves being a part of it, building a Little Caesars Arena or building a Huntington Place downtown or working on that new park. And to be able to be a part of it is amazing. So, right, like I look at it like this: for them to be able to go home and say, hey, and tell their kids if they got kids or their family members, and have something to be proud of. To be able to go somewhere and say, hey, man, I was a part of this. I was a part of this building being constructed. So, and it's just amazing. It's an amazing feeling and an accomplishment as well. A lot of people like me personally, I hadn't had a lot like upon me graduating, I hadn't had certificates and certifications for something that I can congratulate myself for since high school. So to be able to go back and do that, it just woke something up in me, inside of me, to make me want to continuously grow at what I was aiming towards. So I definitely recommend, highly recommend, for more people to get into the trades. Not even only heavy equipment. You might not be into heavy equipment. I recommend CDLA, CDLB, drywall, welding. You can start off at entry level with welding and then work your way up and be an underground water welder where that's one of the highest paying jobs in the world. So I definitely recommend it.
And as you know, I'm your host, KD. And I think we're going to get out of here. This is my guest. I'm going to let him introduce himself again as we get up out of here.
I'm Bernardo Reeves from the Detroit Training Center, the youngest heavy equipment instructor in the United States of America. And I just want to thank my brother for bringing me on the show. I definitely appreciate and respect him.
Thank you, man. And as y'all know, I'm the host, KD. Popular Loser Podcast. Go watch it everywhere. Go stream it everywhere. Go do everything you need to do. The YouTube is Popular Loser Podcast. But always remember, spell that S with $, because this is not for fun.